Good morning. I want to welcome everyone to this morning's meeting. Before we begin, I want to ask everyone to please bow your head for a moment of silent reflection. Man, thank you. Okay, before we start with Mr. Minges, I want to turn the mic to Commissioner Irvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In my email response to a non-party, I reiterated and repeated in that email my duty and responsibility was to be fair and impartial to all parties. That is what I've done, and that's what I will continue to do. However, since some of the intervenors have requested that I recuse in this docket, and out of an abundance of caution and to avoid any potential appearance of impropriety, I am recusing myself from any further participation or proceedings in the three avoided cost dockets, which are 2019-184E, 2019-185E, and 2019-186E. Mr. Chairman, I'd also like the record to reflect that I did not participate in the briefings, nor did I participate in any deliberations in the dockets today, or in the Duke Energy Carolinas and Duke Energy Progress order that has been filed.
Thank you, Commissioner Irvin. And it will be noted that you are recusing and that you did not participate.
Mr. Chairman, may I be excused?
Yes, sir, you may.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Minges.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Staff proposes for our next business meeting Wednesday, January 8th.
Wednesday, January 8th. That's 2 o'clock.
Yes, sir, 2 o'clock.
2 p.m. Thank you.
We have one item on our agenda today, docket number 2019-184E. We have petitions for reconsideration or rehearing that have been filed.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Whitfield.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion in this matter. Mr. Chairman, we received two petitions for reconsideration and rehearing from the parties. One petition was filed by the South Carolina Coastal Conservation League and the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy. The other was from Johnson Development Associates Incorporated and the South Carolina Business Alliance Incorporated. Mr. Chairman, essentially the petitions seek reconsideration of 5 issues. Number 1, the interim variable integration charge / embedded integration charge. Number 2, Commission consideration of project-specific mitigation measures for VIC and EIC. Number 3, approved energy rates with consideration of a technology-neutral approach. Number 4, capacity value. Number 5, purchase power agreements with a term longer than 10 years. Mr. Chairman, to begin, there is some clarification needed regarding the characteristics of the approved variable integration charge and the embedded integration charge. The interim VIC / EIC is and has always been intended to serve as a temporary rate until more accuracy about the appropriate cost can be had after an integration study is performed. This rate is not intended to bind current or new projects to the interim rate forever, merely until another, more appropriate rate is able to be determined. At that point, the amount of VIC or EIC will be subject to a true-up, either up or down, depending on the actual integration cost indicated by the integration study. In the meantime, Mr. Chairman, however, I move that we set the interim rate at 96 cents per megawatt hour as proposed by witness Burgess. It appears, after further contemplation, that Mr. Burgess' analysis more accurately adjusts the modeling done by the company and therefore provides a rate that more closely reflects the actual costs of integration. Once again, I would emphasize that this is to be an interim rather than a permanent rate. Additionally, the petitioners ask us to require Dominion to propose for commission review mitigation measures that a project may undertake to reduce or eliminate its assessed VIC/EIC charge. If a project agrees to operate in a manner that materially reduces or eliminates the need for additional ancillary service requirements incurred by the utility, including but not limited to QFs with battery storage, then it should be afforded a reduction or waiver of VIC or EIC charges. If a disagreement arises between the utility and a developer, such issue may be brought to this commission for determination on a case-by-case basis. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, I move that Dominion should file proposed mitigation protocols for commission consideration that are consistent with the concept I have just outlined within 30 days. If an extension is needed to fully consider what mitigation protocols ought to be offered, then the company may ask for an extension of time to comply. The petitioners also ask us to reconsider the approved avoided energy rates and to adopt a technology-neutral approach for valuation. Similar to the position of the petitioners, our consultant's final report states, quote, "A technology-neutral approach is more flexible and reflects actual value for customers in specific hours," end quote. Based on the evidence of record, I move that we adopt the PR standard offer energy rates as proposed by witness Burgess in his pre-filed exhibit entitled Burgess 2, which has been entered into the record as hearing exhibit number 10. The avoided energy cost numbers should now be season peak, $31.05 a megawatt hour, peak season off-peak, $27.51 per megawatt hour, off-peak, season peak, $32.52 per megawatt hour, off-peak, season off-peak, $28.93 per megawatt hour. As stated in our order, I have concerns that the solar profile must fully compensate solar generators at an appropriate avoided cost. To ensure that such compensation is being offered, I want to reiterate that the Commission expects and requires a much more detailed and transparent analysis concerning the seasonal and hourly value allocation for solar generation in the next avoided cost case. We have been asked to reconsider the capacity value afforded solar generation as well. I move that we do reconsider the capacity value approved by this commission. We approved upon further consideration, we approved upon the recommendation of our consultant, Power Advisory LLC, an avoided capacity value of 4% for solar. Upon further consideration, I move that we find Mr. Ori's recommended avoided capacity value of 11.8% to be appropriate and reflective of the actual avoided capacity value for solar at this time. Mr. Ori's analysis seems to be more accurately representative of the status of installed and potentially avoided generation, and therefore should be adopted. Finally, I move that we approve the request for rehearing on the matter of longer than 10 years duration for purchase power agreements. I think that we would be in a better place to make a wise and more fully informed decision after hearing additional testimony on this issue. The rehearing should be limited narrowly to the contract duration issue and related additional terms and conditions. I move that all parties wishing to participate in the rehearing process should attend a status conference with commission staff for the purpose of establishing an appropriate procedural schedule for commission consideration. Such status conference should happen within 2 weeks of the date of this directive. Finally, we are required to make decisions according to and in compliance with South Carolina Code annotated section 58-41-20A, which states, quote, "Any decisions by the commission shall be just and reasonable to the ratepayers of the electrical utility and in the public interest, consistent with PURPA and the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission's implementing of regulations and orders, and non-discriminatory to small power producers, and shall strive to reduce the risk placed on the using and consuming public," end quote. Mr. Chairman, I believe this motion complies with the requirements of that statute. I so move.
Thank you. You've heard Commissioner Whitfield's motion. We'll entertain questions or comments. Commissioner Belser.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Whitfield, I appreciate your motion. I appreciate discussions that we've had regarding these issues. I know that we've spent a good bit of time going back through the record and going back through our independent consultant's report. I've found particular enlightenment, perhaps, or at least certainly recognized some strong language in the consultant's report regarding their concerns with the avoided cost modeling conducted by Dominion. And there are numerous references in that report to lack of transparency, and that the one in particular that where he expressed concern that the avoided cost estimates presented were not reliable. And with that, I am certainly in favor of the looking at other proposals, and also find that the rates for energy proposed by Witness Burgess seem to be sound and reliable for this proceeding. So I appreciate your work on the motion and putting this forward, and I certainly support your motion today. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Belser. Any other comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman, I would
Commissioner Whitfield.
just like to thank Commissioner Belser, not only for her comments, but for her hard work here over the holidays and in recent days, and certainly appreciate all you've done, your extra work, attention to detail, and certainly appreciate your comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anything else? I think we have all had a good chance to really relook at everything, especially our consultant's report. So I appreciate the hard work that Commissioner Whitfield you put into this motion. If there are no more comments or questions, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And the motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes today's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Minges. We appreciate everybody being here today, and we are adjourned.